To all our viewers, Aditya Birla Health Insurance, along with Empower Minds, brings to you Heart to Heart, a 24/7 mental health helpline. Call on the number given in the description box and reach out for support. Help is just a call away. Don't shy away. Thank you. Hello, friends. I'm Janvi. Welcome back to the next episode of Aditya Birla Health Insurance's Health from Home series. Is this prolonged and surging virus making you feel like you've had enough? If your answer is yes, you are not alone. Many of us today are dealing with this phenomena that's called pandemic fatigue. It is that feeling of tiredness, anxiety, depression, many demands at once. This is affecting and damaging our mental well-being. So therefore, to learn how to deal with this pandemic stress, we are here in conversation with psychologist Janvi. She has specialized in therapies for adolescents, adults, senior citizens, for depression, anxiety, relationships, dealing with family issues, and much more. She uses customization with integrative therapies and techniques as part of her counseling. Also, she believes that there is an unaccountable strength in subconscious, which can be the root of many solutions. A very warm welcome to you, Janvi.
Thank you so much, Janvi. It's my pleasure being here with all of you all and to discuss about this particular topic of pandemic fatigue. So to begin with, just a little bit about me, apart from, of course, what Janvi mentioned. I have completed my master's in clinical and health psychology from UK. I worked there for some time. Post that, after coming back to India, I have worked in government hospitals, de-addiction centers, private clinics. I also had my private practice, and it's been more than a year since I've started working with Empower. And of course, since the entire pandemic has been going on since more than a year, everyone from almost every from every strata, from every industry is going through a lot of issues currently, and most of them are a part of pandemic fatigue. They are the symptoms of pandemic fatigue that everyone's going through. However, we are just not aware of it. So today, this entire session, it's mostly going to be to make you all aware of it, aware of the term pandemic fatigue, aware of all the symptoms that come along with it, and it will be enough to make you understand if you are someone who's going through pandemic fatigue or not. And interestingly, I'm also going to mention a lot of strategies that you can use to come out of it.
Thank you,
I'm very
Janvi.
excited for this.
Thank you, Janvi. That's, I think, much needed. So the first and most important question that comes to the mind is, what is this term pandemic fatigue? What does it really mean? Is it that mental strain that we feel today or after having recovered from COVID, that weakness that one feels? What is it?
So pandemic fatigue is more or less something that all of us can go through, whether or not we had COVID or not. Firstly, the word fatigue, we understand the word fatigue means there's an extreme level of tiredness. Now, what does pandemic fatigue mean? That due to pandemic, we all are constantly reminded and constantly recommended of, okay, these are the multiple precautions you have to take. You have to probably wear your gloves, masks, face shield, keep washing your hands. Don't touch your mask, don't touch your face. So because of these constant repetitions of reminders of precautions, I'm sure all of us somewhere or the other have felt that tiredness from listening to it altogether. So that's one bit. Secondly, we all have been restricted in our homes, restricted in a small space that we have to work from, entertain ourselves from, sleep in, eat in. So it's like the same space we have been restricted to do anything and everything you want. That also, and the prolonged period of being restricted in this space is also causing pandemic fatigue. But again, pandemic fatigue is a state of extreme tiredness of all of these things that are going on. The feeling of being fed up of it or being done with it. If I use extreme layman terms, this is what exactly pandemic fatigue means. And also along with it, because of all these reasons, not finding enough activities to do, not able to find avenues to indulge yourself in. So all these things together form the basis of pandemic fatigue.
Tell me, how is it different from boredom or stress? It's like I feel annoyed repeatedly. Is that a sign of pandemic fatigue?
Okay. So so let me first take you through what are the symptoms of pandemic fatigue altogether. Firstly, wanting to, not indulge in social activities anymore, because I remember in the start of the lockdown last March,
Yeah.
or April, there was this overwhelming process of being active on social media, and through all these social platforms, conducting games for your family members. I'm sure everyone somewhere or the other,
Cooking,
cooking,
gaming,
exactly,
everything we started. It was all
everything.
very new for all of us. Instagrams were full of, I would say, all the new recipes everybody was trying.
Absolutely. And people, these games like houses and all of that, people start playing online. And it went on for about a month or something, and then again after that there was this period where everyone was like, okay, this is enough, I cannot do this anymore. And that particular feeling for a lot of them has stayed with them till now. Like, you won't believe, it's been more than a year and people are still feeling that, feeling withdrawn from not wanting to indulge with people. Because what happens, Jabji, is all of us, whenever there is a change in our environment, we take some time to get adjusted to it. But then once we get adjusted to the new change, we create that comfort zone around us. And then stepping out of that comfort zone becomes again difficult for us. So that withdrawal from, social activities, from meeting people, talking to people, that is one of the major signs. Secondly, as you said, boredom or irritability, it is one of the symptoms, but you cannot say that it's equivalent to pandemic fatigue. Like, there are a lot of things that come along with it, but definitely being extremely bored, being extremely irritated with people, having mood swings, all of these are again symptoms. Along with it, a lot of people are feeling difficulty in concentrating in their work, in even while watching series, watching movies, the level of concentration has decreased drastically. Right? It's not only with regards to work, even with regards to entertainment, that level of concentration, focus, interest has reduced. Um, a lot of people are also feeling difficulty in sleeping, in falling asleep, getting.
Lots of people complaining about it today, yes.
Exactly. Sleep issues have increased drastically. The number of cases we've been getting, of sleep disturbances, sleep issues are so high as of now, and all of them are somewhere or the other linked to pandemic fatigue.
Yeah.
Also, there is this tiredness of uh, you know uh, reading information, or getting information, be it relevant, irrelevant, true, false. Just WhatsApp is loaded with these kind of information. Our news channels are loaded, are swamped with these kind of information. So even a tiredness, fatigue related to information, related to pandemic, we call it infodemic. So even that is something that has increased so much. um, and again, just thinking of what are the new cases that I'm getting, even with children, with adults, virtual fatigue is something that has increased so much. Of course, even currently we are doing this particular session virtually. We don't have any other option. But there are people who are feeling fatigue due to all these virtual sessions and virtual classes that they have to go through on a regular basis, because they don't have any other option.
I'm sure it must be so tough for children today and for parents too. It's like it seems like never ending for now, at least. But tell me, whenever we're fatigued, we're tired, we're asked that you must rest well. So is that the solution to pandemic fatigue? How do you best deal with it?
Okay, so there are multiple ways to deal with it. Firstly, resting well is our solution to almost everything. That's something that comes to our mind to begin with. But firstly, identifying that, when you say you're tired, identifying from which source is the maximum tiredness coming from, maximum fatigue coming from. Are you physically feeling fatigued, right? Do you feel that you're unable to
Hmm.
move, or you're unable to exercise, or you just don't feel like getting out of the bed? Is
Yeah.
it that? Again, in the symptoms, I forgot to mention anxiety, depression. All of these are symptoms of pandemic fatigue. So just keeping that in mind, are you physically feeling fatigued? Are you emotionally feeling fatigued? Emotionally would be, are you, having a lot of mood swings? Are you feeling very sad or angry, or irritated? Are those emotions the reason from where your fatigue is arising? Is it mental fatigue? Mental fatigue is, basically, it means that, as I said, unable to focus, unable to concentrate, feeling very demotivated to do things. Is
Hmm.
it that, or is it spiritual fatigue? Like, is the source spiritual, in the sense you don't feel like, living anymore? You're questioning your, the essence of your life. You're questioning what is happening around,
Yeah.
right? You're questioning the entire existence,
Right.
right? So firstly, these are the four different, as I mentioned, four different areas or sources where your fatigue can arise. So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be mental, or it could be spiritual. So firstly, try to identify the source of this fatigue. Try to identify what is the maximum time you are spending in which is causing this particular pandemic fatigue to arise. Now, say once you have realized that, okay, say for example, let me take you through all these four again, in terms of what can you do to, to kind of revive yourself of that fatigue, and get your energy levels back. When
Hmm.
we talk about physical energy drainers, what can you do is, basically, you can indulge in good eating habits. Eat well, have a good diet, have a good nutritious, have good nutritious meals. That's one thing. Secondly, definitely rest well. Sleep is one of the major reasons why you would feel physically fatigued.
Hmm.
So sleep well, rest well. Try to indulge in exercise. Try to indulge in at least about 30 to 40 minutes physical activity on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And the last thing is, try to just, have some kind of relaxation activity for yourself during the day, right? So if you have found that, okay, I'm physically drained, I'm feeling physically fatigued, then
Hmm.
probably you can indulge in these particular activities. Then if we think of your mental energy drainers, right? What can you do? Again, mental energy drainers is, when you start feeling, demotivated, and you feel like you're not able to focus and concentrate anymore.
Hmm.
What can you do when you feel these things? You can probably indulge in challenging activities. Sometimes the monotonous life also kind of puts you in that zone. So indulge in challenging activities, indulge in probably, playing strategic games, or, just something that you feel that, okay, this is my weakness. How can, what are the different things I can do to upskill myself, if this particular thing is my weakness. So challenging yourself is something very important that needs to be there on a constant basis. Secondly, try to focus as much as possible on your present. The more we think about our past, the more we think about our future, what happens is we all understand that it's not in our control.
Hmm.
We cannot go back in the past and change anything. We cannot make sure that our future is going to be of a particular, uh, of a particular way, whatever we've planned it out to be. So the more we think about things that are not in our control, the more we feel helpless. And that helplessness is something that converts into frustration, irritation, anger, etc. So
Yeah.
try to focus as much in your present, in your here and now. Just another quick one or two tips for this particular energy drainer is try to organize yourself, try to have a structured routine, which will reduce your stress levels. It will reduce these mental energy drainers, because say if you don't have a structured routine, you're thinking about anything and everything that you can do during the day, which again is an energy drainer. So if you have a structured routine, if you have an organized routine, it will help you a lot. And just try in the same thing, try to manage your time well.
Hmm.
It's something that will help.
But tell me, Janvi, there is that feeling that creeps in that I don't feel like doing anything. Like, how do you muster the courage and the energy to do it? Like, I understand the various kinds of fatigues, and of course, there needs to be a routine. But when a person starts feeling too deeply that it's very difficult to really tell oneself to get up, wake up, it's like that these thoughts keep coming to our mind. We keep
Absolutely.
reading about it. But how do you really implement these things? What are the tips or tricks or what to keep in mind, how to give yourself that sort of energy and courage to do it?
So when you say that this I just don't feel like doing anything,
Hmm.
right? We also understand that it is one of the ways to explain burnout. Now what burnout is, that you are it's a different level of stress, it's a different level of you're in a place wherein you've been through. So there are different stages again to reach burnout. One is the honeymoon phase, which we were talking about earlier, wherein you're so excited about something new that you put in so much energy in doing it. Post that comes a stress, and a chronic stress phase, wherein you start realizing that it's not as much fun as I had made a bubble of. It's probably there are good days, bad days, and I am going to face bad days, and it is going to create some stress.
Hmm.
Post which burnout is a phase wherein you decide that you want to give up. It's like you keep procrastinating. You don't want to indulge in work. You indulge in escape mechanisms. You try to distract yourself. You try to keep pushing things away. Now that phase is something, I think what you're talking about is I just don't want to do anything anymore, right? Now
Yeah.
how do you come out of it? Now when you are in the state of burnout, one very important aspect is get some time off.
Hmm.
Try to bring yourself together again. Try to understand
Hmm.
again, where what happened when I was motivated, like what was there when I was motivated, and what changed to
Hmm.
make me demotivated. Was it again, was it that I was indulging in too many physical activities and I feel physically drained? Is it that emotionally whatever's going around in the house or in the environment is something that's causing this?
Yeah.
So when you take some time off from say work, from like physical time off from family members, just tell them that just give me some time off, wherein you can introspect, you can think about what is it that changed,
Hmm.
so that when you figure things out, when you figure that okay, this was the reason, then you can start working on it. But Jabji, what happens is when we don't take this time off, when we don't introspect, when we don't give ourselves this particular, this time that's very important, what happens is it becomes like a khichdi, inside our mind. Ye hua, wo hua, I am irritated because of this, but I don't have time to, think about it. I have so many other problems
Absolutely.
going on. It becomes a mess. It becomes a chaos inside our mind. And unless and until you take some time off to, to organize it, to understand what's going on in your own mind, you
Hmm.
will find it very difficult to come out of it.
Yeah.
Right. So according to me, the answer to your question, the first particular topic would be, the first particular thing to do would be to introspect, to get some time for yourself. Once
Hmm.
you're done with that, then there are different ways to come out of it, but this is the most important. Once you're able to achieve this particular self-awareness, then it becomes very easy to come out.
Hmm. It's like there are times when you're constantly thinking, like you said, even when you're watching like a sitcom, you can't concentrate, right? You're constantly thinking, your mind is wavering, you're feeling anxious. Even the smallest of things today can trigger one to get snappy, be in a bad mood. What do you do in that situation? How do you come out of that situation at that point of time?
Okay. Um, try to, try to not avoid or ignore self-care. Self-care is so important, especially at this particular moment in time. One example is, say, mothers. Okay, mothers are dealing with um, the schedule of their children, schedule of their probably husbands and family members, and all of those things. This is just one example. Of course, even fathers, even children for that matter, are going through a lot of, over responsibilities, wherein they are not able to find time for themselves. So I think self-care, indulging in a hobby that probably helps you remove the stress away, indulging in good amount of rest and all of those things is very important. Secondly, following a routine hygiene is also very important. There are people who, because you just have to stay at home, are not bathing for days. It's just, and it's completely understandable, but it is something that's pushing you away from being, how do you call it, being happy and being able to adjust to that environment. If
Hmm.
you're going to indulge in these kind of mechanisms, not indulging in self-care, not indulging in self-hygiene, it's going to, at some point, not initially, but if it continues, at some point it is going to push you towards pandemic fatigue. So I think these are a few things that are very, very important for you to have in your daily life.
Hmm. So tell me, Janvi, that I want to understand, where are we heading towards with this fatigue? Is it mainly the impact of the present situation, just a bad phase right now? How do we put an end to it? And like, how do we manage or move away from this?
Okay, that's really interesting because, if it's like a vicious cycle. If pandemic fatigue remains constant, if we don't do anything about it, what happens is, firstly, always being on high alert, always being on your, on your toes in terms of, oh, this person touched the face, and, probably that person will get COVID. And just constantly thinking from that perspective, it is exhausting. You cannot, like, humanly, you cannot be constantly on high alert for such a prolonged period of time.
Hmm.
So when that happens, you end up, entering this pandemic fatigue phase, wherein what happens is you reach again, as we spoke about burnout, you reach that phase of burnout where you want to give up. You don't want to follow any precautions. You don't want to follow any rules. You don't want to follow any restrictions. And
Hmm.
that's something that's going to cause increase in the number of cases. We know, one after the other waves are just coming in, and scientists um, have already kind of predicted that probably there are going to be more waves like that. But if due to pandemic fatigue, we end up being less precautious, it's going to, that cycle is going to keep following, wherein because of these things, the pandemic, the waves are going to keep increasing, and because of that, pandemic fatigue is going to keep increase, because of which again our burnout is going to keep increasing.
Yeah.
So that's probably where we are heading with being in pandemic fatigued state of mind. So it is very, very important. It is not just a phase. If you really do something about it, that's only when you will be able to come out of it. Otherwise, there are these different mental disorders, psychological disorders that people are getting into, anxiety, depression being the two most common disorders that people are entering.
Do you think, Janvi, maintaining a journal or writing your thoughts, like you said, there are multiple kinds of fatigues, right? It's important to first identify, is it physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental? Maintaining a journal helps. Like, how do you deal? Because there are lots of people also, like we know in India, a lot of times, more so in India, I would say across also, I've been hearing people don't want to talk and seek help a lot of times. But what is it that they could do themselves to be able to identify what is the real cause of concern here, and taking certain measures to deal with it themselves? So it's like your, what do you call it? Your to do that will help you get out of it.
Right. Absolutely, Jabji. This is a very important, strategy which I use with a lot of my clients. What happens is when there is, when there are so many, as I said, it becomes a chaos in your mind. When, when something is going on within yourself, it is difficult to identify what is going wrong. It is difficult to pinpoint that, okay, this is something that's causing the problem. But if you write it down, what happens is you're seeing it as a as a different person. You are, when you write your thoughts down, when you write your emotions down, what happens is you are able to see clearly what's going on in your mind. So that is something that will help you identify a pattern, if there is any. That if there is a negative pattern of thoughts, if there's a negative pattern of emotions, if you are able to write it down, it's going to really, really help you out to understand for yourself. Of course, the first way out is something that I would recommend is try to seek help, try to seek professional help. Uh, because psychologists are trained to understand these patterns. They are trained to ask the right kind of questions to elicit such responses which helps them as well as you understand what, how is your mind working as of now. But say, as you said, in India, a lot of people are hesitant towards it. And especially even with emotional things, we are hesitant towards even talking about it with our family members, because it's not something that has been supported in our culture since long.
Also, just to add, everybody in the family today is going through it. It's not just one person. So it also sometimes feel you burdening the other person in the family with your own stress.
Right.
And a lot of times, I would say, a lot of men also don't end up talking about it. And I'm sure a lot of people are going and dealing through with it. So
absolutely. Men, when you talk about men, it's, again, that if you show your emotions, your masculinity is, it's not as much as it should be. Men cannot be emotional creatures. Is something that has been engraved in our minds since the day we've been born. So, and they find it very difficult to cry, And it is really sad to see something like that, because crying itself releases so many emotions. And if you're stopping yourself from doing it, if you're putting uh, that barricade in front of you, it
Hmm.
again, that's a completely separate topic altogether about how men are unable to to show their emotions. But I completely agree. Right now, everyone is going through these emotions, these thoughts. One thing is, if you talk about these emotions in your family members, it kind of encourages others also to talk about it.
Hmm.
However, what happens is, probably you may not be able to come to a conclusion or to come to a solution. So because of which, again, therapists and psychologists, they have been trained in a way that it's, none of their emotions and feelings come across in a session. It's only you get your safe space, you get your personal space to talk about anything and everything that you're feeling without being judged at all.
Hmm.
So I think, as I mentioned, that's the first recommendation from my end. However, I understand if there are people who come from that mindset and that stereotypes and prejudices.
Hmm.
So writing your thoughts down, writing your emotions down, as you mentioned, Rabji, very rightly, is going to help a great deal for them to understand themselves.
Hmm.
So that's very important.
And also, Janvi, like there's this uncalled stress, or we may call it like the pandemic fatigue, which is affecting a lot of productiveness at work. So, what would you recommend people, working professionals, that to take a break, and how do you do? Because today the boundaries are not clearly defined, right? We take a break, but we know we're sitting at home. So one tends to go back to work at times, and therefore attend to important, urgent sort of calls. What would be your suggestion to working professionals to deal with this fatigue
Hmm.
and
Okay.
not let productiveness at work eventually affect, right? Because that's not
Exactly.
something that any organization would want.
Absolutely. So I have a lot of such cases wherein, people are going through job dissatisfaction, and it's not something that they always had. It's something that's something that they're facing right now because of pandemic fatigue again. So what you can do is, firstly, why just again, trying to understand why was it not there before and why is it happening now, is because that there was this clear boundary and there was this clear understanding of the space, in terms of, for my professional work, I have to go to office. When I come out of it, I am trying to, keep my stress, keep all the work thoughts that I have, I'm trying to leave it there and then move back home. And the change in that environment, the change in the physical atmosphere when I enter my house, when I see my family members after the whole stressful day, it helps, it helps you shift your focus to, it helps you focus more towards family members, it helps you enjoy the food, the dinner probably better. And right now what's happening is everything is under the same roof. There is absolutely no boundary of space, of time, as you said. uh, me, myself, my husband, all of us, we find ourselves even working while we are having dinner, because I have to submit something, by tonight, which would never be a case if I would go to my office. So that is something, that is the reason behind feeling demotivated to work, firstly. Now, what is the solution? We cannot actually go back to our offices, of course, that's definitely not the solution. So what is the solution is, you create boundaries for yourself in terms of understanding professional versus personal time, firstly. Secondly, in terms of even working space. Of course, not, a lot of us don't have that much space in the house, but just finding corners of the house where, if I'm working, I use this corner. If I'm sleeping, I use this part of the bed. Even if you're working on the same bed, try to work on a separate side of the bed than the side where you're sleeping. Just these small minute boundaries, if you create, it's going to help you so much in terms of understanding that, okay, if I move out of this space, that means that I'm done for the day. Now I have to spend time with my family, or things like that. So that is very important. That will help you stay motivated. So try to inculcate this habit of creating boundaries.
It's really important. I think you've summarized it really well. It's important for us first to also understand what we're going through. I think that's the starting point. What is the kind of issue that we are facing with ourselves? Because a lot of times we feel that, okay, this is just a phase. Maybe there's no need to address it. And I would urge all the viewers today who've joined us, seek support when you need it. Do not like say that, okay, this is something which is just a phase, I will deal with it. I know everybody has that strength, everybody tries their best, but it is always good to talk it out, to speak to your loved ones, and also in case of need for professional support, go out and seek it. Dr. Janvi, I would say thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure the session has helped all our viewers here to understand what this pandemic fatigue really is and the ways to deal with it. It was really nice having you here.
Thank you so much, Jabji. As I said, it's my pleasure. And, it's something, this particular topic is so close to my heart because I'm dealing with so many such cases right now. And I know, there is a way to deal with it. So it is possible to come out of it. Do not think that, okay, this is something that will just go away. And, if I'm going through this, no one else can help me out. Just trust me. If you are going through a difficult time, if you are going through a different level of pandemic fatigue altogether, it is possible to come out of it. It is possible to get your, get your life back together. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers for joining us. We hope and pray that your health and well-being is good and you all find the strength and courage to come out of this sooner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jabji. Thank you, all the viewers. Please take care.
To all our viewers, Aditya Birla Health Insurance, along with Empower Minds, brings to you Heart to Heart, a 24/7 mental health helpline. Call on the number given in the description box and reach out for support. Help is just a call away. Don't shy away. Thank you.